Hey, this is Brenda Divine from Discover Your Purpose. Hey, I told you I had another thought, and I was on YouTube looking. I don't know why I was doing this, but I was on YouTube looking for videos about black women, and came across this video. These two women were talking, and they were talking about how in this culture that African Americans are entrenched in a culture of trying to fit in, trying to fit into a culture that they weren't naturally inclined to be in, having to fit in with the language, the culture, the clothing, the hair. And I started to think about my own work career, the challenges that I've had, and there was a common theme that I recognized, not during the first parts of my career, but definitely in parts of my career. And the word was, you're not a good communicator. You don't communicate well. And to me, that's saying something personal. That doesn't mean that you can't work on how you approach people. You can't make people comfortable or assess the different audiences you have and change the way you present information. I had a epiphany not long ago about a gentleman who was my boss, and he had that comment about not being a good communicator. And I had heard it before, and I had spent over a year assessing myself, assessing my dialogue, my body language, how I look, how I communicate. And I learned a lot of things, and I improved a lot. But what I noticed, that even with my improvement, he had a problem. And I realized that the problem wasn't me, the problem was him. And his problem was, he wasn't used to communicating or sitting across from a table with a black woman. He wasn't comfortable having a conversation with a black woman. He wasn't comfortable with the directness that a black woman has. He wasn't comfortable with how I was comfortable with myself. He was not comfortable with those things because he wasn't comfortable with himself. So I'm saying all this to say, and I've said it before in different ways, but you have to be comfortable with yourself. You have to love yourself, and you have to know how to speak up for yourself. You have to be able to look at the world around you and pick the things that you feel comfortable dealing with, and not the things that people want to lead you into. So if you're in a work environment, or if you're in a relationship, or if you're in any type of environment, particularly work, because you're constantly being assessed and looked at and compared to what they call best practices, which is basically an average of everyone else. But don't get caught up on what's average. You're a child of God. You're by no means average. And particularly if you're already in tune with your gifts, like I'm in tune with my gifts of discernment and encouragement and teaching. If you're in tune with your gifts, you are far above average. So don't ever listen to someone tell you that you're average, or try to imply that you're average, or try to fit you into a box as average, or try to get you to go along with what best practices are. Be your authentic self. Be comfortable and in who you are, and know that you're valuable. What you have is valuable. What you bring to the table is valuable. And if someone doesn't see that, That's their problem. And it's not your responsibility to convince them how wonderful, how awesome, how powerful, how talented, how gifted you are. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to keep on being you, keep on doing what you're supposed to be doing, and keep on doing what God has called you to do. Don't get caught up in what everybody else thinks. Get caught up in what God thinks and get caught up in what you think. This is Brenda Divine from Discover Your Purpose. Talk to you in a little bit. Bye.